China says that it's ready to continue trade talks with the U.S. in principle. The Chinese Foreign Ministry announced the news on Monday, a day after the two sides wrapped up a round of negotiations in the capital, Beijing. China said the talks saw positive and concrete progress, with relevant details to be confirmed by both sides. It added that Beijing is ready to increase imports from trade partners, including the United States. The agreements now could take effect only if Washington refuses to push ahead with its trade sanctions, including additional tariffs. The U.S. has angered its key trade partners by levying taxes on imports. The measure has also raised concerns about an imminent trade war. Political commentator and analyst Jason Unruhe joins us now from Ontario. Mr. Unruhe, welcome to the program. What are your thoughts on the outcome of this recent round of negotiations between the U.S. and China?
Well, it seems like hopefully things might start stepping more towards a positive situation between the two countries. Unfortunately, the United States has taken a very tough stance towards, frankly, everybody in the world because of their protectionist policies that at least Donald Trump feels will be of benefit to their own economy. The way the world works is that people spend a great deal of time hammering out particular trade agreements between countries. We won't place tariffs on this if you don't place tariffs on this, or we'll purchase this if you purchase this. And these are very meticulously negotiated trade agreements that usually sometimes takes months to hammer out. And the United States, in a bull in a China shop mentality, U.S. President Donald Trump has just come through and just completely run over all of that, claimed that it's not fair, and just demand that everything be rewritten completely in their favor with disregard to how the other party is supposed to operate. It's interesting that he is supposed to be called the deal maker, yet his entire presidency has been predicated on breaking deals. This has led to many in the U.S. media to call him the great deal breaker, as well as internationally. Hopefully that if some kind of concessions can be made from Donald Trump, that perhaps a much more peaceful relationship can exist between the United States and the rest of the world. They can take a much more moderate stance and understand that international trade isn't entirely about one side getting over on the other, but perhaps in the course of international trade, seeing as that no country is an island unto itself, that a mutually beneficial system of exchange is what's really needed. Cheap consumer goods from China have increased the living standards of people in the United States. Cheap lumber coming in from Canada has made home construction, a particularly large industry in the United States, much easier to carry out, along with the steel that comes with the other countries. However, this lesson seems to be one that is lost on Donald Trump, who feels that he can just simply unilaterally decide to change all standing agreements, whether or not they're legal.
Do you think that the U.S. is trying to strong-arm all these different countries into getting the trade deals that it wants ultimately?
I think that's pretty clear at this point that that's exactly what the United States is trying to do. They're trying to use the economic and possibly even military power that they wield to try to force people, the countries that they have trade ties with, to give them a much more beneficial deal. If we don't buy it, nobody else will kind of mentality. That's the kind of power that you do get being the world's largest economy. And it's not surprising that they're now having negotiations with countries, with China right now, which is the second largest economy in the world, which would be the one with the next greatest power. It seems that the United States, particularly Donald Trump, just doesn't really care at this point. He feels that they have some right to just make whatever demands that they want, and there can be no real consequences to their actions. It seems like he does not understand the basic premise of international trade, and that's mostly rooted in comparative advantage. But at this point, it just seems like Trump is out entirely to score completely for the United States, a wholly domestically political move that may end up being one that is suicidal internationally.
Political commentator and analyst Jason Unruhe joining us from Ontario.